Welcome back into the Roundtable Sports Podcast. I'm your host, John Newman. I don't have anybody with me today. I'm just going to be, this is, centered around my Missouri teams here. But if you're a fan, a journalist, a sports commentator, anywhere, you can benefit from hearing this and dealing with, the lesser, less knowledgeable fan. Mizzou is serving a bowl ban this year, and the Chiefs are in a transition period on the defensive side of the ball. So just kind of two things to keep in mind as I start my rant. The Chiefs made a splash in free agency on the defensive side of the ball this year with Tyrann Mathieu, the Honey Badger, and Frank Clark. I don't think we've got a nickname for Frank yet. Frank the Tank works for me because that's just the way he plays the game. Plus, Mizzou guys, you already know, James Franklin was our tank at the quarterback spot. All right, let's roll. All right, we signed up Mitchell Schwartz to yet another year at $20 million. People are going to be like, why? Why they sign an offensive lineman? Because offensive linemen don't come a dime a dozen the way that every other position does in this league. When they're at the level that Mitchell Schwartz is, he has been an anchor for this offense since the day he came here. His job is to make sure the running back doesn't have to hesitate when he's handed the ball and going to his side. His job is to make sure that Patrick Mahomes can take a quick glance back to the left side where Fish is playing and not have to worry about getting blown up. That's just what Mitchell Schwartz brings to the table. I think that it was a good job by the Kansas City Chiefs at whatever cost it is. We've got Chris Jones holding out of minicamp for contract reasons right now, which is not necessarily a bad thing. A lot of these guys do a lot of their own work in the offseason. They just do that. That's just the way that players ensure that regardless of what happens with these contract negotiations, even if they feel like a team's thrown them under the bus, that wherever they go in the next spot, it's not going to hinder them. They're gonna go ahead and be in the best shape they can for the position that they are going to play somewhere else. I think that, Chris Jones is going to stay a Chief, hopefully. If that's not economically feasible, guess what? You've got a man named Frank Clark, I already mentioned, who is a part of that same unit. Maybe not interior D-line because he's going to play on the outside in the 4-3. But you've signed up guys like Alex Okafor. You've signed up guys like Emmanuel Ogbah. Guys that are going to be able to do a pass rushing job from the outside, and then Frank Clark, just pass rush, run stuff, whatever you need done from that edge spot, you've got Frank Clark. You got Derek Nottie on the inside, who, by all intents and purposes, is just as good after watching him play for one season as Jones was after one season. Maybe not quite as much of a splash player, but in terms of, being the nose in a 3-4, that's going to translate to this 4-3 defense with Spags as the coordinator. We heard today Travaris Ward talked about how communication has been so much better on the defensive side of the ball with Steve Spagnuolo as the defensive coordinator opposed to Bob Sutton. And my prediction, my guess, where that comes from is that Bob Sutton had been burned by players in the past at taking his system to another place and telling people, what he teaches and everything. And Spagnuolo's been out of the game for long enough that and also he's innovative enough. It's proven in the past that he's just gonna call different plays. And Bob Sutton was unwilling to call different plays. He was unwilling to, change certain things. Did he bring Daniel Sorensen down from that safety spot? Yeah. Pretty sure every defensive coordinator would do that. Did he rotate slot and outside corners? Maybe not as much as he should. And you get a guy like Tyrann Mathieu, I already mentioned, able to do that sort of over-the-top safety, come down to the slot. He's a play buster. Same way that Frank Clark's a play buster. Same way that Chris Jones is a play buster. And it's not just, look at him getting torched here, look at him getting torched here, look at him getting ran past here, look at him getting lost in the run game. No, that's not what it's about. Because overall, the body of work at the end of the game, you could say, I don't think Chris Jones has had a really bad game over the course of a quarter of a season or whatever unit of measure you want to go for terms of how well somebody's playing within a season or within a system. I think that it's just reaffirming to me as a fan of the Chiefs that whatever happens, it's going to be for the better. I mean, we got we had to see Justin Houston walk away. It's a guy that we wanted to keep here, but he's not here anymore. D Ford, we would have loved to have him as well, and it's just not about him lining up offsides. That's not the reason why he's not here. It's just that it was time and at price point and everything. I think D Ford is going to be happy, and if he's in Cleveland, I think that's where he went. Then he's going to be happy. San Francisco. Sorry, I said Cleveland because Cleveland. They have our old general manager, and they're taking a chance on that running back, that one guy. We won't mention his name, but the court of public opinion has some pull, and every situation with that is different. And I think that if the Chiefs organization did their due diligence, if the NFL did their due diligence, then Kareem Hunt would have been handed what he was deserved earlier than at the hands of the media and so there's going to be people that are always just going to compare the two situations between that one and the one that we are currently going through. Now it has passed, investigation's closed, but with Tyreek Hill. I do not want to get into anything. I really don't know a whole lot about the situation, and neither do you guys. You guys heard an audio tape that came out, and who knows the context behind what was said before or after that. Who knows the state of mind that he's in. He's got a child that is his son on the line, and he should have been maybe a little bit more calm and cautious over what words he said. But we will let the NFL hand out the suspension for that, and just be thankful that hopefully the child is going to receive a better home life. Stuff's pretty depressing to talk about, so I'm gonna move on to what I was gonna talk about next here, and it's just that I think that we're gonna stick with the NFL here for a little bit. I'm talking Chiefs. Let's talk some AFC West. I heard the other day John Gruden made a backhanded remark about the. About maybe NFL Hard Knocks will come cover that whenever it came to being asked about maybe I don't know, something with Antonio Brown or something going on within the Raiders organization or structure. I don't know. I just saw it and I thought it was pretty funny. Somebody who was a reporter that was there said that John Gruden had taken a shot at the whole Hard Knocks thing, and I think it's quite hilarious that John Gruden say that, because he is, regardless of what you guys say, he's a player's coach, and he's won a Super Bowl before in the past, and to say that the Raiders aren't going to be a better team with him as the coach, I said aren't going to be a better team with him as the coach is kind of asinine to me. I think that in the long run we'll see. Maybe Derek Carr is their quarterback. Maybe he's not. I don't know. I think maybe he lost something off of his arm, and it could be a confidence thing or whatnot. We'll see how that goes. But they made some great signings this offseason. The Broncos, they had a good draft this offseason, and there's of course, and then with the Chargers, they always have been kind of an organization of a lot of question marks, and I think Phillip Rivers still has enough in him to lead that team to be the second best team in this conference, but I don't think anybody's got a chance right now at catching up with the Kansas City Chiefs. I think we're just head and shoulders above everybody in this division, and I think we're going to be able to keep it that way with the way that we have been ran by Coach Reed, by Brett Veach, and City Chiefs fans. We've got media outlets everywhere saying how dangerous we are just because of Mahomes. And I think this offseason we've done a great job. Everybody wanted to go out and get either Antonio Brown or Le'Veon Bell just because the Steelers were a team that gave us trouble in the past, and they still can in the future. But we didn't. We decided to go out and spend money on the defensive side of the ball, where, in my opinion, it was more important to all of the Chiefs fans. It seemed to be more important to make the defense better. I think their two big splash moves this offseason did that, and then they drafted some guys that maybe weren't huge names by any means. But we'll have a chance to improve with what we've got. Let's go ahead and get into the next thing I wanted to talk about. I don't keep up with a whole lot of the other teams in college football the way I used to, and I need to get back into it with Mizzou even. But I think this is going to be a great year for Mizzou football, regardless of if we stay on the bowl probation or not for this year. And I'm just going to argue that this sort of thing happens in most colleges and universities. And I'm going to also argue that, these tests probably were taken for players, or, the questions answered or whatnot. I don't know how it works. I myself, could honestly care less, because as a fan, if we aren't at the level to make the college football playoffs, then what's a bowl game really? It's one last hurrah for the guys, and you can have your one last hurrah, playing against Arkansas at the end of the season, which, if you beat them, then boom, you won your bowl game, you won your Battle Line rivalry, you get a trophy for it even. But mainly, you're playing for those guys next to you and yourself, and you're trying to make it to the NFL. You're trying to make it up the ladder on the depth chart, and the better you play, the higher chance there is of all of those things happening. I myself am excited to see Kelly Bryant in the Mizzou uniform, rocking that number 7, running around out there. Doing his thing. I thought the offense that Derek Dooley brought here to Mizzou last year was kind of a better fit for the athletic quarterback, and they get Kelly Bryant, and they also got Sean Robinson, and Robinson's got more years of eligibility. Bryant's a graduate transfer, which means that he gets to spend a lot more time on football, on film, on being with his teammates whenever they're free from all of that stuff, and if the NCAA is the business model of college sports, then Kelly Bryant's maneuvered the system in a way that's going to make him able to play his finest football in his final year, even though he's not at Clemson, and there might not be a chance for him to win a national championship or make a bowl game that people sit down and watch. But I'm not sure exactly how many people sit down and watch bowl games that aren't fans of certain teams, So it's just gonna be fun. It's gonna be fun to see. I'm gonna try to make it back out to Columbia this year to watch some good football. And one thing, I'll bounce that back since we're talking about Kelly Bryant a little bit. Trevor Lawrence taking over there at Clemson. That's a guy that I could honestly see Gruden, being very, having his eyes on as if Derek Carr doesn't, play his way out of this funk that he's been in or whatnot, then yeah, there's a name to look for if you're still listening as a Raiders fan. But back to Mizzou, we have been signing these guys. These guys. Well, not signing, getting commits from these athletes in the state of Missouri that are the higher level ones. We've kind of been missing that for a few years now, and I think the culture has changed at the University of Missouri for the better. I think there was a lot of assumptions and offense taken and things that kind of made a bad mark on this on this program and university, if you will, but seems to have ran its course. I think that as far as the athletic program goes, they are in a tremendous spot to on the football side of things to win games and satisfy their athletes' needs, and that should be the job of the NCAA. Do we need a national championship or a bowl game? Really? No, not really. It's cool as fans, but just think of the national championship trophy or the bowl game is this year. If we win 6 games and we beat Arkansas, hey, we won the Battle Line Trophy. Or if we win if we win 8 or 9 games and we beat either Florida or Georgia, and they have a chance to make it to the SEC championship, and one of them has a chance to make it to the college football playoff or whatnot, hey, we ruined one of their seasons, and that's us getting back at them for little brothering us, their fan base is little brothering us, and us not getting the time to talk at SEC media days, and not not being put in the position to bring Mizzou football to the forefront of this conference, even though in the first 3 years that we were here, we had 2 division titles, and I think that transition period is over. The culture change that's happened at the university has been a pretty good one, and I'm looking forward to this next season. I don't got much more to say other than that. I'm hopeful that all of these things come into fruition. Don't know which word to pick there. I think it's fruition. But I'm not getting paid for this yet, so enjoy this episode of the podcast. If you guys get some advertisements, maybe I am getting paid for this. I don't know. All right, thanks a lot, guys, for listening. This has been the Roundtable Sports Podcast. I'm going to come back, recap, some sports that I've been watching recently here within probably, the next 24 to 48 hours. I will have another episode out here for you guys. Gonna watch the Stanley Cup Finals tonight. Game 7 is on, and thanks for listening. Till next time, subscribe on whatever platform you're listening on, and make sure to check me out on Twitter at Talk More Sports. I am going to try to get a website. I have a website made. Try to get a website back up so I can just kind of make some opinion blogs and whatnot without, having to, try to interact with everybody on Twitter and find a, good place to put all of that stuff. Want to, get maybe a subscription-based website as well, that, all you got to do is, subscribe and get to join into the conversation and help, make this podcast take off, get the feet off the ground, and hopefully this bird doesn't land for a long time, because I enjoy doing this podcast by myself, for myself, and for you all that listen. So hopefully, switching platforms here instead of using a different host site helps get that going for me. Thanks a lot, you guys, and subscribe.